subscribe.
I'm the angry ops guy, hanging by a thread, living on Prozac, the meds from my head, jaded and burned out, ADHD and overdrive, manage your life, running on a wire, I love it, I hate it, I'm past repair, the angry ops guy, just another day.
Welcome back to the Angry Ops Guy podcast. Ops Mike here. And it may be a Thursday at 4 o'clock because we are recording and I've got another guest. Well, I got a guest every time I drop now, but I have Alison Lindemann with me. She is the owner of the WSI E-Biz franchise outside of Los Angeles, California. She has been a part of the WSI network for over 22 years, even though she looks like she's in her late 30s. She's been here a while, and she's one of the true great people in the network that I'm fortunate. I say in a lot of these podcasts that I have, this is my friend and so forth, but Alison is one of those people that you want to be friends with. She is a straight shooter. She is one of those people that's going to tell you how it is, good, bad, or indifferent. But she also has an element of humility to her. I'm super excited to talk to her about anything and everything today because we never have a plan. But first off, let's welcome her. So Alison, thanks for coming on and spending some time with me today. How are you doing?
Thanks, Mike. I'm really happy to be here.
Are you though?
I am. You're finishing up my day strong.
There you go. Well, when me and Christina set up this podcast, a year and a half ago, she goes, we just need a therapy session once a week. So let's record it. And that was kind of one of the initial models. And here I am continuing to leverage it for my own sanity. And you just said off air, you're like, well, I need some fun. So let's get into it. But, let's start right there with what I was saying about you. And let's focus on your WSI franchise a little bit because, 22 years in the WSI network and owning your own small business, and especially the very competitive landscape of California and Los Angeles is a testament to your perseverance and your ability to navigate and adapt. So tell me, like I've said with many of the other franchise owners that I've had on recently, tell me a little bit about your story, because even I don't know a ton about it. I know the Alison of now, but I don't know the Alison through the journey. So give us a quick tutorial about kind of your agency and the focus and just how it's evolved over the last 20 plus years.
Well, I'm a dinosaur for sure. And when you were a toddler, I was leaving the corporate world and going, joining WSI. And when I joined, all we had was building websites. And why I was in the home office training in Toronto is the same month that AdWords was launched with Google. So I even signed knowing there was no recurring revenue opportunities. Who does that, right? So really the first couple of years I was basically just pounding sand selling websites. And you know how much I like building websites. So but it was kind of a rough start, I would say, because I came from a corporate executive, multi-billion-dollar company, a really good job. And so this was humbling to move in where I was a absolutely subject matter expert. And so I started this was a complete career change. I didn't really have any background in it. I never sold anything to anyone because I was all internal sales management and marketing management. So it was really rough. I saw you would have been my guy back then. I had a couple people that really helped me out. You would have been one of those if you had been there. Thank goodness I connected with a couple people who were like big web dev e-com guys. One was a supplier actually. And we became good friends, and thank God he helped me through. I sold a couple really big e-commerce. I had no clue what I was doing. But I did learn during the first couple of painful years that I was really good at consulting. So it wasn't that I'm still not very good at whatever you would call sales, but I am really good at learning about people's needs, empathizing, strategizing, making people feel comfortable. And, because my nature is already to do what is best for someone, I realized I was actually quite suited for consulting, but I didn't really know that because the sales side gave me fear, you know? So it was a rough start. It was a really rough start. I was lucky that I had, financially security from my prior career, that I didn't have that, like, "Oh, I've gotta start feeding my family tomorrow." So, I pretty much floundered for the first couple years till I got in my rhythm and really got better educated. Um and then, thank goodness, more reoccurring revenue opportunities came up. I quickly made a hosting package back then when we really didn't have those, so I was getting even early on because I had a somewhat of a consulting background with my prior employer. I did some consulting within that corporate job, but I knew I needed to first figure out how my monthly recurring revenue could equal my overhead. Like, that was something I was shooting for right away. I also was a dum dum, and it sounded great. Like, you need an office, you need employees. So, in the first year, I got a way expensive office space. I was one of the first in this brand new building in the Los Angeles area. Yeah, that was cheap. And then I hired a person, when I would never tell anyone now during their first year to do either of those 2 things when you don't have revenue to sustain those kind of expenses. But I started selling right away, maybe after 6 months, and then I panicked, you know? So then I thought, I need a person, that means I need a office space. So my overhead for so long was so high, so I was always chasing those expenses instead of building a business financially secure and then figuring out how to expand, even financially. So those were missteps early on that didn't set me up for future success very well, but I still overcame those eventually.
So much to unpack there. Let's get into something that stuck out when you said the first couple years were quite challenging. Like you said, you had to get educated and figure out. So a couple of years is a long time. And like you said, thankfully you had some financial stability to be able to kind of navigate the
Yeah.
ups and downs. But if I was to ask you, like, because look, I do have a part of the audience is the newer ICs and very blessed that they look at this as educational to learn. What would you say was the biggest thing in those first couple of years that harmed you? Was it like your imposter syndrome for sales of digital marketing, solutions and strategy? Was it, like you just said, the illusion of I need the optics of I need an office and staff, or was it something else? Because we don't talk, well, we talk about a lot of pain on the podcast, and I use a lot of it as humor. But this is the pain of what any new business entrepreneur owner does. A lot of WSI franchises are people that have exited corporate life and want to drive their
Mhm.
own ship. But a lot of them you talk to says, "Man, I didn't think it was going to be this hard." So I would love to just drill down a little bit further because you have so much tenure as to what you kind of identified was maybe the one or two major missteps that stunted your ability to progress versus just what the hell am I doing and throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Yeah. Well, like I said, a piece of it was like how much money I was spending on my business. I wouldn't do that again. I did buy leads and things, but that should have been a heavier focus than the infrastructure, than the overhead that really isn't making me any money. But the other thing would have been that I really didn't understand back then to think about what would have been a solid package that I could sell that I was somewhat comfortable in, because I was uncomfortable in everything, to be honest, because I didn't have the background. I went right from this corporate job to WSI without really proper preparation on my part, not on the company's part. I went to the training, but I didn't do the prep and all that because I was just in chaos of leaving. And I had worked for the same company since the day I got out of college. So
Well, this was a
I lived
huge
in
transition.
I was and I had moved all over the country with it, progressive positions, but like I said, I knew my stuff really well. So like using the e-com mic as an example, when you don't know what the heck you're doing, you don't go selling an e-com with 5,000 SKUs, which is one of the projects that I closed during the first year. So in fact, I had 2 of those.
Glutton for
And
punishment.
because I didn't really
Five thousand, 5,000 SKUs in your first year? Holy shit.
let me tell you something. Here is the craziest thing. They're still my client.
Get out.
No kidding.
Get out.
They were, I can't remember the supplier. It was the supplier that you paid to call. They called to book appointments for us. They were part of the WSI supplier network. So I bought
Integrity Leads?
before them. Remember,
Before
I'm
that.
way older than you. So yeah, so I was paying for like groups of 10 appointments. I have 3 of them still. I mean, I guess I could brag about how great my client retention is, but and that wasn't the point, but 3 of the original call leads when I started are still my clients, and one of them is at e-com. So I built, I think, maybe 2 e-commerce. This was obviously years ago, and then eventually I'm like, "I'm out," and so I just helped them find a good e-commerce, developer, and I stuck with the marketing side of it. But they are still my client to this day.
And
So,
isn't that so rewarding though? Because you kind of started off your story here about falling on your sword with mistakes. And you said to me offline,
yeah,
you're like, this is something I'm very comfortable talking about, which is this is how people learn is people have vulnerability of mistakes.
yeah,
But that's the reward is it's like the way you took care of them there, no matter what you thought of yourself, what you could execute and so forth, has turned into 20 plus years of partnership with people and brands that trust you
yeah.
explicitly to facilitate how they adapt, how they grow, how they evolve, and what they need.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, it is, but that really wasn't the type of business I should have been working with at that point without maybe an absolute mentor, some other scenario that I was so naive. I really thought the way it worked, not because anyone told me this. I told it to myself. I just gotta overcome my fears of the sales thing, like going places where people may not want me there because that's not my comfort zone. I only like being where someone wants me there. I'm not a like salesy type person. But I thought, I just need to overcome that. Then I just tell them what and I think truly is good for them. I'm not really selling, I'm just advising, which is really what we do. I'm just helping them. And if they decide they want me to be the person that helps execute these suggestions I made, then good. If not, I've given them helpful advice and I've left them better than I found them and I move on. And that's how I kind of psych myself into like I could do sales but and then I pictured in my little imaginary world that so someone says yes. Back then, of course, they signed a paper form and then I just fax it into the sky in WSI and poof, a month later, it's delivered. Here you go, client. Here's your website. Bye.
And
And
there's
then
some
I
people
went and
listening are like, what's a fax machine? Like, this is
and
the
then
process.
I went and did more. Cool. I'm going to do a bunch of these pieces of paper. And then it's like, "Oh, who's managing all that?" I in my mind, I pictured somebody else is taking care of all of that. And then I really got in, like, deep shit, because I had, like, I don't know, maybe 10 sites under construction, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, but 22 years later, it's nothing but just such a great story of how you've built, grown, repaired, fixed, and managed. Like I said, that's the whole theme of the Angry Ops guy is it's not about the wins. It's the story of how you got there
Yeah.
because that's how we learn. Because there is no playbook to digital marketing, web development, or whatever. Because if there was one, it's being updated every day, every month, every week.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one thing about this industry. And again, you've made numerous jokes of how you're so much older than me, which you're not. I refuse to accept that. Um,
Okay.
just make sure you sit with me at convention dinner, okay? I'm going to keep complimenting you. But the 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 landscape changes every day. So you could go to college for this if there is a title for what we
Yeah.
do. You could go get certifications, whatever. And every single day in this industry, you are learning and you are evolving and you are problem solving, which is how you actually learn to be a tactician or to be a strategist or a consultant. Again, you can do as much training as you want, but you got to get into the trenches. And
Yeah,
that's being
absolutely.
in bad meetings, bad sales calls, good sales calls, your whole story about web development there and not knowing what you're doing. Well, that's allowed you to evolve your process, but also, like you said, whether you got an ops guy, whether you got strategic partners, and identifying what you needed to do to improve. And that's really the story here is that it's trial by fire. And you've got to figure out head office and training can only take you so far until
Yeah, absolutely.
you've just got to learn, and learning is through failure. Learning is through mistakes because that's how we grow both in life and in digital marketing, right?
I agree.
So on that note, just about your business. Um, Now, one thing, I'm not jumping gears ahead, but you
Yeah,
focused on
yeah.
something there where you said, like, you identified that I'm not a salesperson. I'm not even a fulfillment person, but I'm good at consulting. Again, I can share my suggestions, my strategies, take it or leave it, and so forth. And in your latter years, as your agency has evolved and matured, and also what you want to focus on, you have really kind of got into the focus. A good element of your agency, as I understand it, is fractional CMO. Something that you have definitely dabbled with clients,
Mhm.
because, like you said, the consulting side is one of your strengths.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, because you're basically telling the journey of that realization 20 plus years ago that this was an area that you are good at, you can do. And now, again, being a tenured agency, this is really where I think you're hitting your stride and where you put value out, because you have such a dense network and connections, which we'll get into later. But talk to us about that thing, because fractional CMO is something that's come up the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
WSI, a lot of WSI people are enamored with it. Some of them are very good at it. Others have no clue what to do with it. But again, I've known you as a friend for numerous years, and you've told me the ebbs and flows. But how did that come to bat for you? And what have you learned through that, and why it's an important part of your agency now, and what you want to put out there in the time you have for where you put your effort and energy?
Okay. So, like a little story. So, when I was in my corporate life, which I work for Farmers Insurance, I don't know how familiar you are with that company, Mike, but they're one of the biggest insurance companies in the United States, like top. They're the largest. Yes. Okay. So, yes. And during, as I was moving into management, they, it's too long a story to tell you because it is funny, but they eventually put me in a test job, and it was called an agency consultant. So even though I was an employee and most of my jobs have been like specialist, supervisor, manager, director, then I became a consultant, and they did a trial, and they sent me to the Dallas Fort Worth area, and they assigned me like 30 agents. And they benchmarked those agents statistics. How many policies do they have in force? What is their churn rate, right? How many are they selling? How many are leaving them? What are their operational efficiencies or challenges? That kind of thing. Then they assigned a person like me because I'm a test. And they benchmarked the numbers. Then they asked me to go work with them to improve their business, sell more, keep more, build operational efficiencies. So I started doing that as a test in like the Dallas Fort Worth area. And I'm like, cool, this is actually a really fun job. I got a company car. I don't have to go in an office, which, I'm not really the office person. I can flex my hours. By then I had my first child, and I loved working with businesses one on one. So that was my first going, huh, this is like kind of a cool thing to help them. And then 10 months later, so I'm just getting in my groove, and learning the life in another city, and then they transfer me again to the San Diego area. And California didn't have this job. They now had a couple in Texas, and then I restarted the job again. They gave me San Diego and Palm Springs in a company car. It was not a bad gig, and I already
I
knew
was
what
gonna
I was
say, that's
doing.
not shucks, that's a bummer.
I had to start again, but not in a bad way. I mean, palm trees in my yard and all that. So, but that's what really started this whole thing. Back to your question, it sounds like I'm not answering it, but I'm like, I like this idea. This is business consulting instead of the internal, even though I was very successful inside the corporation. I was one of the strong women in a very male dominated industry back in those days for sure. But I realized I like working in the field, and I, instead of being responsible personally for sales, I was still responsible for the results of sales people. And then you know what? When I came all fast forward, when I came across WSI, I'm like, you know what? This is another version of that. I just got to help businesses go get customers. That's the digital marketing. Keep the ones they have. That's retention management, which all of our clients need. And guess what? Even with AI, even more so, become more efficient. Like that's the same shit I was doing. But just now we got better tools to do it. So it really, that's all I've been doing really with my clients. Some of them more than others, depending if I had more of a full service clientele. So this CMO or the fractional CMO comes up and it's really already what we're supposed to be doing. If you think about it, it's an incomplete service if we just do web dev and website management, or we only do social media or whatever. Really, we're the ones who understand the complete picture as much as anyone else, unless they have another outside business consultant. So I'm like, this is in my space. And so I went through that first class when WSI had that FCMO program or certification. So that good. That was a good, it was good.
How many years ago was that?
Well, whenever they had the first one, I mean, what was that, maybe 3 years? Recently when WSI had the FCMO, and so my first one I got officially was that I was just telling one of my clients about it, that I was doing the certification. I know my clients really well. That's, I don't know if we're gonna talk about that or not, but and he's like, "Well, I want you to be mine." I was simply just telling him about, what we were doing at WSI with that education, and that kind of shift in the way we look at the relationship with our clients. So that became my first, like, official FCMO, and really anything else I've been doing, there's another one that I spent a lot of time on. It just morphed into that, Mike. Like I'm start off doing a couple services, I build their website, I do their SEO or whatever, I'm managing the site. And then they're growing and then they need more. And then they're like, I want to open another location. Okay, well, here's all the things. Now you're getting into social media and the Google business profile. And pretty soon you are just full service and you need to consult on it. Guess what? That's CMO. That is the CMO. And when they go to you first for everything and start asking you to be on vendor vetting calls, and they're not even necessarily vendors that you and I would use in our business, you've become their CMO.
Yes.
You've become their unofficial CMO. And for me, eventually it's the conversation with them that, hey, I'm doing a lot of work outside my the work that we've been contracted to do. We need to make another arrangement for that. You just did a CMO deal. You know what I mean? It just it just happens. And I think you and I and everybody else in the network, I think we have to choose it though. I don't think every client's ideal for that role. And there's some that I've stayed away completely from because I know it would be a cluster and I know it would be they wouldn't be doing their part of their end of the deal because of issues with the way they're organized or their staffing. But when it's ideal, we should be getting paid for these extra strategies and advice and our time that's outside of the fact that I run their PPC or I handle their SEO. And that really, to me, is what fractional CMO is.
You hit such an important point there because I always like to try to pull out, educational advice to tell people on the pod here. But what you just said is um, consulting and strategy work is not free. Too many operators make that mistake because we feel that we have to do it for retention or giving
Yeah.
more to the customer. No, consulting and strategy work is billable and it should be paid, whether you have a fractional CMO initiative or agreement, or whether it's just the difference between tactical execution. Or, like, for example, if you're running a base PPC campaign for a couple $1,000s a month and your management fee is just a number $500 a month, you are not giving massive strategic insight and consulting because
Yeah. You're not
there's
being
not
paid
enough
to do
money
that.
there to justify it. It's got to be portioned. Like, I had somebody working with me in the last year had a very interesting opinion that stuck with me, and they said, like, if you're running a $2,000 a month PPC campaign and you're pulling in a couple $100 in management fee, then you're basing just navigating tactics. You shouldn't be getting into any strategic recommendations or whatever, because it just doesn't align with the scale of the account and the
Yeah.
wishes. So for people listening in WSI that are looking at, I think a theme of this podcast with Alison is going to be failures, and the right way of learning insights is make sure you value your time. And if you're going to put your operational insights, consulting lens on things, it has to be billable. Otherwise, the client will continue to take it, and then you're sitting there still making your couple $100, but giving a couple $1,000 worth of
Yeah, and
expertise.
I think there's like a fine line there too. And people like me who've been around a long time and I'm very, I guess, intuitive and things like I know a sense of how to handle these things. That's maybe something that is one of my strengths. But there's a level of it that I give to even those monthly smaller retainer ones because I'm still trying to differentiate myself. So I want them to realize,
Certainly.
wow, you know what? Her insights into even my campaign that's not ultimately probably making her a lot of money. I want to show my worth and value. I'm not going to go creating marketing plans for them or full out strategies, but I definitely want to showcase that I am not your web guy down the street, basement Bob, or whatever the analogies are. Like there's a lot more to what I can offer. You haven't signed up for it yet, but I'm going to
That's
give you
right.
some insights into how you should be looking at your business,
No,
but
well said. Well
be
said. I should have
now.
set that up better because I sounded very bullish as, like, don't give anything away. No, but you said it much more eloquently, which is you have to give for, partnership, retention, and setting yourself. I love what you said. What's your real value proposition? And, to allow that customer not to just shop somewhere else for the same service for the same price. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is, like Allison mentioned, don't go to the point of building some robust 50-page strategy or some massive, this is how we're going to rework all of this in your business just for the greater good of the customer, unless, there is a tremendous agreement there in place. Because what I'm saying is, digital market, we give so much to
Yeah, we
educate
do.
and to win opportunities, but we're also, and I'm sure you see this even though we're in different areas of North America, is people just take that now more than ever, right? They oh, really? Oh, that's great. Oh, can I have that? And you're thinking, oh, they're going to sign, and it's like, yeah, thanks. You know what?
I mean, yeah.
We're going to go a different direction, and we're going to hire somebody internally. But then they just took your blueprint that you were trying to sell, and now they've taken it for
Yeah,
their
and
own
they're
advantage. So
gone.
you've
I
got to
mean,
know where that wall is.
if I was newer, I would leverage the Genius tools. They've gotten better too. Like if you feel give them one and show them your value and you didn't spend hours or days on it. Give them one, say these are obviously paid strategies that we can implement. I mean, that's an easy way to at least show we're different than everybody else and the tools and knowledge that we have, but not spend a ton of time. What do you guys do, Mike? So do you guys are you doing any of the CMO?
Oh, I just put a handgun to prospects' heads and say, sign the goddamn proposal, otherwise I'm out of here. So, bullish tactics coming out of
But
Toronto.
are
No,
you guys doing like more like a CMO?
No, we're not. That's why I brought the question to you because, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, I don't know enough about it. I've had, I've talked to Neil Lappy. I know that he's done some fractional CMO stuff as he's been able to get out of his agency, and have time distribution in different ways because he's got Chris running it. I've talked to you on numerous one-on-ones because you were one of the, I call it, first people that I knew that got
Yeah.
into that for your own agency. That's not Peter's lane, my Peter. And also just not how we're designed right now. We are much more like a, I don't want to say a fulfillment center because we're not a production center, but we're about
Yeah.
fulfillment. So consulting is something that Peter has always been a big advocate of. Something we did a lot of back in the day. We've gotten away from it a little bit, but with the change of the AI landscape and how AI consulting is now coming into our toolkits, I see an opportunity to get back in there. I don't know if it's going to be a fractional CMO piece, but I do see that there's value there, but I want to highlight something on fractional CMO because, again, going back to failures, what would you say in the first clients that you brought on for bringing you
Oh,
on as a fractional CMO? What was the biggest thing where you're just like, whether it's a week in, a day in, or a month in, or whatever, and you're just like, shit. Just
yes,
like,
I
what was
have
the
one.
reality of, was it expectation versus reality, or how you positioned it or sold it? But what was the biggest, like, uh-oh, and I got to put some, I hate this word guardrails that's being used like crazy in AI,
Yeah.
but what guardrails did you have to put in place to say, like, I am a fractional CMO. I am not, sitting, hip to hip with you every day
Yeah. I feel
next
like
next to you at the
you're
office.
asking me so perfect. I'm like, did you and I talk about this already? Because you're
We
like
did.
leading into the most perfect. I mean, here's the biggest thing that happened, and the one that we might have talked about is the CEO of that company, before we even signed anything on it, sent out a bulletin, the whole staff announcing me as the CMO. We have a CMO now, without any understanding that this original contract was actually 5 hours a week at a high hourly rate, but 5 hours. And so they started all treating me like a paid, I mean, like an employee, like I'm on staff. So, and then asking me, like, hey, how do you read Google Analytics? How do you help us set up the UTMs, blah, blah. Look at all our social media. That is not what a fractional CMO does. So they got me in the weeds. And here's the other side of it. I did let myself to some degree because they were my biggest client at the time. Well, they still are. So it wasn't like I had one other service plus CMO. They were paying me a lot of money through all these services. Through all the I mean, they still to this day spend 50,000 a month on Google PPC. So I'm just so like they're and I shouldn't say still, they didn't when I started the fractional CMA. They were maybe at 20,000 or something. But so and SEO and all the things. So it's like I'm so wrapped up with this client, and now they're thinking I'm like an employee and I'm not. And so they've been the staff has been improperly introduced to me and my role is. So some people don't like me there. They literally they think I'm a do nothing. This some person who comes in who's friends with the CEO, and she's barely at any meetings, and she's every now and then sending us all this, wow, all the things we're all doing wrong, and then poof, she's not even around, and who knows how much they're paying
The
her.
business coach that comes in once a month and, like, interviews the employees and says, "Oh, this is where all your problems are," and blah blah. But you're not in the trenches with us. It's
They
the
don't
same
understand
mentality.
at all. They're understanding now, but it's been very rough, and even to this day, this is a law firm, even to this day, the person who'd be, I'd say, right under the owner of the law firm, and this is a law firm that has 70 employees approximately, uh, that person to this date, still doesn't like me.
How can you not like Alison Lindemann? I gotta fly down there. I'm gonna strangle
Okay,
somebody.
when I say doesn't like me, they don't respect me in that role because they don't understand my role. They do not understand my role. So that back to your question, that you're 100% right, Mike. That and my client overstepped. the owner of the business overstepped. He never should have sent that out, but I should have taken control of that immediately and really forced him to re-clarify my roles, the expectations and things. And to this day, a couple years later, it's still very challenging, but that whole business is challenging. It's not just my relationship with it, but defining the role. And I'm way better now at these couple others that I have of right away saying, that's outside the scope of my role in as the CMO, but and I might still give a little, you might wanna do this, but I make sure right away they understand, "No, I'm not performing that audit." I mean, if I'm hired separately to do that, but here's what my role is as a fractional CMO in terms of strategy and evaluating the strategy, but it's been a learning curve for all of us. And again, like all of our contracts, Mike, you know this too, like scope creep is real.
Big
It's the
time.
same difference of making sure they understand you asked for this and you're paying me for this. And now you're wanting this. This is a
Yep.
different thing,
Yep.
you
So
know?
the biggest takeaway I would say out of that for people listening, but also learning through your own, and I was able to articulate it in a way because we did have this chat, or don't know the client stuff, but I remember when you're just like shit, like, but the point is, it's define your scope of work. Make sure the person that's signing it, or the person that is going to be working intimately with you, because you're a fractional CMO, understands exactly what you're committed to doing and is agreed upon. Because, like you said, the big punchline here, and where I was going with that for you is the word is fractional, not
Yeah.
CMO. They're two.
The
They're
F word.
yeah. They're the F word. I love the other F word. I use it all the time, everywhere possible. It's like my favorite word in life. But the F word, fractional.
Yeah.
Fractional means fractions, means a fraction of time per week. It does not mean full time. Like Allison said, contracted for 5 hours a week to come in as a consultant to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Not to sit there for 40 hours like a worker, or 60 hours. Because again, talking about our friend Neil, and I don't think he'll be mad at me sharing this. He didn't share any sensitive details, but when he took on a fractional CMO, and I remember talking to him before, like a mastermind. He goes, Mike, he goes, this is killing me. He goes, like
Yeah.
the amount of work I'm putting in, versus what we define. And what's interesting is you and Neil are two completely different people in different areas of the US,
Yeah.
but the same reflection from two tenured WSI people that know consulting, digital marketing, and business, is that the uh-oh moment of client expectation over what was defined in that role. And that is a theme that many WSI people that have tried to adopt and leverage themselves in fraction have suffered from, is just
Yeah.
the I like maybe the consolidate is saying like the scope creep, and then
Yeah,
the
it is.
expectation doesn't match what you envisioned it to be. So make sure that doesn't happen, because if you're working 70 hours a week as a fractional CMO, that's not what that role is.
No.
And clearly you're not getting paid for that. And if you are, God love you. But if you're not,
Right. So,
you've got to
and
you
I
got to
do,
hone that back in and be like, this is what I'm
yeah.
doing for you. Because the other thing that we won't talk about in depth, but just that story about an individual, turning their nose up and stuff. But that's a very real thing. Nobody likes external people coming in.
Yeah, not
You,
yeah, you're
you
right.
make them uncomfortable. They're spying on me. They're going to be tapping me on the shoulder. You don't know what the hell I do, and blah blah. That's why I made the joke about a business coach. They are important, but the groundwork has to be laid by the owner, the person that hired you on for that, to say this is what this person is coming in for, and this is how they're going to support, complement, or be leveraged to make us better, versus coming in there as like an auditor that just sits there and says, let's fire half the team because, like the Office Space movie where everybody comes into the bobs. That's
Yeah.
not what the role is. So again, on that vulnerability and failure side, it's not failure, but it was a huge learning for you of just like, we have to define this
Oh, for
correctly.
sure. And you gotta realize one of the greatest things when you go look at it financially, and, I struggle with looking at things financially. I mean, I'm financially very smart, but I am my own worst enemy and controlling what the time I spend on things. but I mean, it's pure profit. It's pure profit. I mean, the fractional role of it. I mean, I charge $250 an hour. I mean, could I charge more? I suppose. Are most of my clients might absolutely they're in the SME, like not, they're not super big businesses. But you look at other things that we do and having the cost associated with manning employees that deliver that your service or having a vendor, it's all pure. If I figure out how to have 15 hours a week of my time at $250 an hour with zero expense behind it other than opportunity costs, dude, do the math. Like that
Yeah.
ain't
Do the
bad
math.
adding that into your monthly revenue.
No
If you
kidding.
can
Oh, and
figure
also,
it out.
like you said, is where does cost bleed to fulfillment? Soon as you have suppliers,
And
soon as you're
it's really just
executing,
my time, Mike. It's
that's
my
right. So do
time
the
for the
math.
most.
Do the math.
So it is.
It's like many people that have said, going in this another thing that's popped up as well as fractions email is selling from the stage. Jack Porter Smith was
Yes.
big on that in his kind of
Yeah.
heyday of Utopiads, but also other people, Gunner, Peter Pilarski, and others, Andreas. A lot of people in WSI have become very successful in putting themselves on the stage to sell. But the same thing, they charge X to put themselves out there, but there is no fulfillment. There is no justifying performance. So, like Alison said, do the math. Your hourly wage, which consulting or fractional CMO will always be higher than the
Yeah.
average hourly rate for digital marketing agency work or support work. And do the math on what you can do. Like Alison just said, it can be very, very lucrative for you with less pain then I brought 5 more clients on that have 10 times the demand and needs month over month, week over week. So on that note, about and I want to ask one more question about kind of consulting, since that is something you're very strong in and knowledgeable and through the entire journey. But how do you see AI consulting, knowing that it is newer? Our WSI has really invested in AI education and thought leadership. We are now moving into AI education and AI adoption roadmaps, and this is the thing to help businesses moving forward. So, do you see yourself irrelevant of fractional CMO and what you've been doing with clients, but is this an area that you're going to go play as you get more comfortable with it? Is the AI
Yes.
consulting is just the
I
next extension
mhm,
of Allison in the consulting capacity?
think so. I think
Yeah.
so. So I did all the, jumped in on the classes and all that. I feel like pretty well educated on it from a consulting viewpoint, not in the weeds. I mean, there's certainly I go in on an AI Monday and then I realize how much I don't know, but I know enough to have the conversations. And so I just need to figure out how to make it part of my current agency offering, and I plan to do it. And in my mind, and I know you would have an opinion on this, Mike, because in my agency, I'm so SEO heavy, and you and I have already had this conversation. So I'm and SEO, ASEO, AI, whatever we want to call it, the shift that's going on is a business risk. I don't care what anybody else says. We don't know exactly how it's landing compared to what it was. And so especially because I'm so heavy on it, it is a area of concern for me. And so in my mind, I've spent the time to understand how AI consulting might look so that I see it as kind of I don't have the right words, a comfort for me to jump in, not just if, but in addition to my SEO business, because I really don't know what's gonna happen to that book. I'm just I'm hoping it's still steady. I am selling AI new converted pages and I'm talking, I'm selling like we'll submit a page a month, blah, blah, like trying to come up with the right AI related packages. But at the same time, I have some very significant, I don't even know the words, traditional or whatever SEO packages that are driving a ton of my revenue. And so I want this consulting piece to start driving in some recurring revenue to help protect, you know what I mean, my revenue streams, you know, if some of the companies pivot in the way that they look at SEO and marketing. I mean, that's just my honest response to it. And you're right. I'm comfortable in the consulting space. What I'm still in the like headspace of figuring out is what all am I going to deliver to them? You know, what am I, you know, because at the end, yes, they'll probably want I know they're interested, and I'm already doing, I think, you know, speaking on it. But then what am I giving them? What am I deciding in my agency, and what do I have the right support behind me? Because you know, my very active clients, they'll want a deliverable. They'll say, "Okay, cool. I know I need to do that. Well, okay, let's go." You know, so what am I doing? Now I know on all our before AI marketing that you and I deliver, I know where I'm going for all that. I know where to go shop for the services and which ones I deliver in-house and which ones I use vendor relation. But on this, I'm still figuring out what I'm giving and where I'm fulfilling that, how it's working in a space that I still am learning in, you know?
Absolutely. And going back to what I said earlier about how digital marketing doesn't have a playbook, AI does not. AI is the Wild West right
Yeah.
now. There is too much knowledge, too much information, too much opinion, and like you rightfully said, it's moving so fast right now that you know, we're still trying to assess, like you rightfully said, the risk assessment for SEO. SEO is a bread earner for many WSI agencies, and it has been for years. And since July of last year, you know, in watching the decline of traffic,
Yeah.
changing of metrics, how to change the narrative with customers to understand that this isn't bad SEO, that we didn't get hit by
Mhm.
an algorithm update. This is a changing user experience that we all have to learn. And it's even harder for us than the customer because we've got to learn how to adapt to the biggest change in the SEO space in years. And when I say years, I'm not talking 3 years. I'm talking at least
Yeah.
10 years, at least, or maybe 20 years, the biggest shift, because everything we've been taught about where SEO plays in the funnel, how to get SEO results, how to defend and educate what SEO is and the value of it, it's completely different now.
Changing.
and and we don't know where things are going to be 6 months, 10, 12 months, and that is scary as a marketer that's already navigating economic uncertainty and consumer tightness because of factors going on.
Yeah.
But we I think the big thing, you know, Allison, is as we continue to learn, which again, we're fortunate to be in it. We have the WSI network that is putting a lot of resources to try to help and educate. We're doing our own things, and we share a lot as friends, is to take that and extend it to the customers and educate, because like you said, they want to be told what to do in the right way, because what we don't want them to do is go to the internet and go to Reddit and go and just go down that vomit fest of, you know, SEO. It's like when this whole
Yeah.
happened last July through September, you go on LinkedIn and every person that's a goddamn SEO savant is like, SEO is dead and here's the proof.
Yeah, I know.
I'm of the opinion, not fact, the opinion, it's not dying at all. It is evolving, or like head office said, it's adapting. Um, there is too much money in search engine optimization for Google and digital marketers, and for how businesses have to be found for this just to die and say goodbye. You know, it's like I've said to other guests, for paid advertising, even though we're not talking about that. We know ads are starting to show up in large language models. Once it goes full bore, however they do it, you think Google's eyes aren't going to be like this at the
Right.
potential for more advertising real estate? So look, this is a business, and I'm not talking at the agency level. This for Google and everything. This is a business. So I'm of the opinion that SEO is going to be even more important for you and I and other agencies, at least in the next 12 to 24 months, because it's a non-negotiable. Like you said, it cannot be, oh, you know, it's going to take 12 months for rankings like the old days, and I don't value that.
Right.
No, you're not looking at it the right way. If you cannot be surfaced, if you cannot be trusted, if you don't have entity signals, if you don't have trust signals, then the large language models, which are going to serve information immediately to the person asking a question, will not be able to trust that your brand has the factual accuracy that it can trust to serve. So you may sit there and say PPC is the be all end all because you're looking at it as a light switch or a tap on and
Well,
off.
and that's gonna face the same
Of
challenges.
course it is. I completely agree.
They're going to the
But
same search engines that are changing. So,
but especially for SEO is,
yeah.
you are not just using SEO as a lead generation tool. You are using it truly as a visibility tool moving
Yeah.
forward, because we basically, us as marketers, we're not starting from the beginning, but we are relearning how people are going to engage, how they are going to discover information. And now, how do we take it into a large language model versus an algorithm or a bot to be able to say, do you understand? And
Mhm.
please serve my customer because it's the most accurate. It's just the evolution of
100% I
SEO.
agree.
But you are right though. Every digital marketing agency is anxious right now because there's too much noise. The great thing though is that we are evolving and we are growing. We have AI visibility add-ons for putting another layer on your SEO. But you had something so great because you said you got a mature SEO base. The clients that have done their due diligence by investing in comprehensive SEO strategies for years are naturally getting picked up by the LLMs because, like Andrew at Unibit says, our colleague in the network, and others, you cannot jump to optimizing for AI and large language models like everybody thinks you can. Well, my website's going to be optimized for LLMs. And that requires foundational SEO.
Yeah.
Where does the LLMs get the information from? The internet, Google. It's scraping information. Where does it get it? It gets it from good SEO signals. But so I think SEO has a huge play, but we do have to look at the risk assessment. Like you going back to what you're saying about
Yeah.
consulting, is adding more layers. You cannot be a one-trick pony. Oh, I'm great at SEO. Good for you. But what happens if it
Yeah.
goes away in 6 months? We've seen stuff in the industry go away. Look at the verticalized approach. There are agencies that live or die by it, but look at COVID did to certain ones that doubled down on one niche, and then all of a sudden the niche doesn't need them anymore. So the big thing in digital marketing and now AI consulting is the ability to adapt, and adapt with the changing, because technology is making things faster, and technology will fuel everything we do moving forward. And we're already seeing what it can do at such a sample size now in the last couple of years.
And I even think in like this transitional period, even though I'm saying to you, and I think you're saying the same thing, like I know I'm getting into it and I'm talking about it a lot and I maybe don't have it all figured out. However, if we've built these trust relationships with our clients or our future clients, they're hanging on with us so far. I'm finishing up with something positive. We can be angry too about some things, but this is also a return on the investment of being more consultative because they're feeling the same way we are and they're glad that I'm around even though they don't really know yet what they're going to do and what this means, and some of them are even kind of that I have maybe bucking it a bit, but they know and I'm learning and keeping up with it, and I think that's keeping us around for how while we're sorting out what we wanna deliver in the future too to our clients, you know? So you know, I feel like it's last year was a good year, and, despite what's going on all around us in this world and things, these businesses want consultants still. So in
They
the
do.
short term, at least, like, when we're worried about, like, what's gonna happen to agencies and people to do it yourself or something, they want a hand reached out to them, and that's us right now, you know? And
Yes.
so I feel good about that while I'm still trying to position like my agency and where I fit in the whole AI, I'm still feeling optimistic.
Well said, lady. All right, let's shift gears here because I want to be respectful of your time and want to have a little bit of fun with you. But there are a couple things on the personal as we look to wind down here, before we focus on Easter. So before I have some fun with you, one thing I wanted to make sure I didn't lose sight of, because we've been talking about consulting and your agency and failures and other things. But for people that don't know you, you are I'm going to fumble what the term is, and I'm probably not even going to say it. You'll say it, but you are very big into networking, and also volunteering. You give back tremendously, and I'm not even talking about the network. You're always one of those people that accepts to be on a panel, to be a thought leader for the network. But I'm talking more about who you are in the Los Angeles, California area. This is really one of the things I learned about you when I formally met you, and then we kind of instantly became friends. but this is something you're very passionate about on the personal level, is giving back. Anybody that follows you on social media, you're part of a lot of events that fundraise and earn and raise money for certain causes and so on. So could you, I'd love for you just to have a few minutes about, your passion behind that, where it comes from, because this is something that really sets you out and probably why you're as successful and connected as you are, is you've worked very hard to build a strong networking bubble around you, but also how you put yourself out there in organizations and things. So I hope I didn't butcher that, but talk to us about that,
No.
because I admire what you do. I'm not like that, but I really admire what I see that you post and all the things you do. It's like, Christ, woman, you never sleep. I swear, you're always doing something. But talk to us about that, because I know it's a big part of who you are.
Yeah. I was trying to think about what to say. I mean, it's just my nature. It's just my nature, and I get a whole lot out of helping other people. I mean, it's kind of as simple as that. It was never a strategy in my business. I would
Oh,
feel
okay.
out of alignment ethically if it was, and there's nothing wrong with it. It is a strategy for business. It wasn't mine. So just to be honest, mostly, I've kept it separate from my business. And so I may sit behind sponsoring some kind of event or something, and it's if they force my logo, that's the most I do. So
Okay.
because I feel like whatever the return on it is for me is a personal thing that it isn't really. And yeah, the I could do a webinar on how that could help your business. So but it never was a drive behind it for me, but what it has done, I guess, is it's raised my personal, visibility in my local community, which does give me, I'm struggling for the words because I don't really talk about it that much, but informal influence on
No, I think that's the no, that is the right
things
word, because
from
in local networking and local communities, the optics are to be present and to be visible and to be part of that versus coming and going. And like that's what I was trying to say when I see photos of you and the events that you're part and so forth, is
Mhm.
you're really big in the community. That is a big aspect of you. And I want to drill further. I know I can sense, talking about yourself and this kind of personal thing is a more uncomfortable talking about business, but I think it's such a proud and impressive character trait of yours, is that you're willing to, because look, let's be honest, some people, they don't want to do shit for people when, if they don't have to, they're just not
Yeah,
wired that
I know.
way. I
Yeah.
make a joke with my mom, for example, because she's like, "Oh, you're always on the go. You're doing a million things and this and that." And then like my father will ask me to do something, even though he's paying me to do it, or whatever. And it's like, God, Dad, get away from me. And my mom's like, "But this." I'm like, I don't get out of the bed. I don't get out of bed unless somebody's paying me to do something. That's the way I'm
Mm.
wired. But you just feel so compelled to put the
Yeah.
outreach there. But I'm going to challenge you. It has to come from somewhere. Is it just been in your
Okay. So
DNA since you were young, since you were a young kid, or is it something that you've appreciated as life has evolved for
yeah.
you to put a better focus on it? If you
Well,
don't
I'll
mind me
tell you
asking.
one story because I have a bunch of deep stories, but they're deep, and then you're gonna wanna, like, laugh on the way out, and that's just you're asking me the question, but, I
I'm
mean
not going to laugh at you.
no, I mean, have fun, have fun.
Okay.
This is not no, you're gonna I mean, one, I'm a cancer survivor, so and something that maybe I don't talk about that much, it really isn't connected as much to that, but someone might think that, so that's why I don't talk about that. But because have been through a lot, surgeries, chemo, radiation, all that stuff, I ended up meeting people in the cancer community. And so I met someone who was, I don't know, between an acquaintance and a friend. Okay. As far as my relations, I knew her through someone else, but we became friends. She was going through cancer and someone brought her to my home. And not going to tell you the whole story between that, but the bottom line is over a course of time, I became her caregiver. And there was even one time, I don't think you and I knew each other. I had flown all the way to Florida for our convention and barely could leave her. because I lived out of the trunk of my car at her house is where I'd have my clothes, my stuff, because she was going to pass away, and I wanted to be there. And, yeah, I went all the way to convention. I think I went to the opening, and I never went to one other thing, and I eventually caught a flight out of there and went back because I realized I couldn't do it. But, I eventually became the trustee of her 3 kids, a person that I barely had known a year before that, and so I am just finishing that obligation that is like 9 years long because the youngest is no longer a minor. So so I'm just telling you, I know it's like now I just made a Debbie Downer out of this conversation, but, that her life and her tragedy and those kids' tragedy, if I was to tell you, is sort of why I ended up becoming chairman of the board of a cancer organization, that helped people that need they have medical treatment, but they don't have the emotional support to help them get through hard journeys or their family. So I know that's so deep, but I got so ingrained in that organization, which still I spend a ton of time on. But I'm
Mhm.
also in organizations like in support of like vulnerable women. I'm not miss like, oh my gosh, women. I mean, you see, I'm one of the guys. I'm absolutely one of the guys. I've grown up in male dominated industries. I'm super comfortable, but I like being a mentor. I like working with the people who feel maybe less than, becoming stronger than. And I do get a lot of personal fulfillment. And I don't care as much as some people about if my ROI or whatever is a little lower because I'm off on a day or two a week on chasing a mission. I just go with my heart, you know? And this all works out, and you're right, I am quite visible, and that does give me I had the mayor at my house, I'm go get awards at city council. I support a lot of the nonprofits in my community, which is a pretty big community, and it's a big business community, so I could leverage it more than I do, but it just feels icky. And it happens organically also because people will realize they just know me from somewhere, And then when they understand what it is, that's where like that know, like, trust kicks in. But I would never do it as a strategy, to grow my business because there's easier ways. There's different ways. There's something else that makes a person make these choices in life, you know? So, I don't know if I just, like, buzz killed you, but
No,
it's
that's not a buzzkill at all. I did not expect you to be that vulnerable. And again, I think I know you decently well based on our friendship, but thank you for sharing that because I knew some of your background in some of your focus on giving with non for profits and helping support, but I did not even know to the extent of your own health. Truly, because that's you are a private person in that regard, and that's not something that you put openly to everybody, and nor should it be. But
okay, can I
that
tell you a funny story related, though?
sure,
I'm gonna lighten this. Okay, so I went to convention when I was in the middle of treatment for cancer.
boy,
So I'm like, "Okay, I gotta wear these wigs, man," like, it's not a thing that a lot of people know about or whatever, and so I don't even remember where we were, if it was another Florida one or whatever, but I don't know what happened by the day 2, I'm like, "Fuck this wig, it's itching the shit out of me, and I'm dying." So I wore, like, a head wrap, okay, a head wrap, and so, we're doing the speed dating. It was one of the first times we
fuck, they
did
were doing
speed
speed
dating.
dating back then too. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ!
and so I get my breakout and I sit at the table, and the person who's gonna be the speaker says to me, "Oh, are you Middle Eastern?"
Oh, it's probably
And I
Peter.
go, "No, I'm from the Midwest." And then another thing, one more thing, and I'm not saying names of any of these people. So
Do it.
then a
Do it.
different time we're at I feel like it was a dinner, but I don't know. We're at one of those round tables, and people I know are sitting there, because they're longtime WSI people or whatever. And I'm just sitting there in my discomfort because I really didn't look like myself. Like I was literally bloated, like maybe 30 pounds, and it was not pretty. But somebody did across from the table after probably an hour or two at our table. Maybe it was at the awards thing. I mean, he's like, "Are you Allison? Is that you?" Like, it's someone I knew pretty well. They had no idea it was even me sitting there.
Really.
And they were like, they felt they I don't know if they eventually said their name to me or something. I'm like, "Dude, I've known you for 10 friggin' years." I thought it was all funny. I thought I took it in stride, you know? And, those people were more I had somebody tell me too one time, like, a male whose wife I was friends with, he's like, "Oh my god, I just gotta tell you, Allison, I have never seen your hair look better. Can you tell me where you go? Because I wanna tell my wife." I'm like, "Oh, my wig? Thanks." And, like, this guy died 1,000 deaths. I mean, you gotta make light of the stuff.
I think it's important to reflect is that, like you said, you are a cancer survivor. That has fueled you into helping others. That's really what your story was about, is helping others and taking fulfillment and joy out of like I love what you said is it's not about the treatment and getting through the treatment. It's how to mentally or emotionally deal with the process that they're going through, no matter where they are in those stages, which really has um, what am I trying to say? Allowed you through your own experiences and supporting and helping others, like that story about being a caregiver to children and stuff like that's deep. But that's fueled the Alison Lindemann that we know and love today, and why we admire you. And what, like I tried to say when positioning this about, I called it networking and giving back, but this is really how you're wired, and you've almost found your second purpose in life, is that an aspect of your life and your community that gives you joy, it gives you pleasure, it gives you purpose, and breaks up the noise of digital marketing and everything else that's thrown at
For
us
sure.
daily, because you're making an impact on people. And I think that's really important. We say that why we get into this crazy agency life is to make an impact on people from the business standpoint. You've been able to take it now another step further to help people at the personal. And like you said, it's not a strategic ploy to get business. It's helped you build a network. It's helped you be familiar with people because local community thrives off of that. But it's really allowed you to make a difference on people that are going through some terrible challenges like the one you expressed there. And hats off to you, because I'm not strong enough to do it. So hats
You
off to
are,
you.
you just don't know it,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've run a cancer support group for 7 years now. I
Wow.
mentor what I don't know what the word is, like, people that have terminal cancer. I spend a lot of time with them, it puts you if you can manage through the emotions of it, you realize how good you can apply yourself in other aspects of your life and your business to realize how
Well
lucky
said.
we are. And, I get insights from people that most people never would. And I hate to
No
say
kidding.
it's the dying, but there's incredible stories. And yeah, it's emotionally very challenging. I mean, do cry a lot, I'm not gonna lie, but there's so many really great things about it. Um, and I think it's a good if there are new people listening, not to the maybe this degree, but getting involved in associating yourself with a cause you really believe in is still a really great thing as a business person, whatever your involvement, big or small. And it doesn't have to break you emotionally or financially. It's just a good thing to do in the community that's you're benefiting from.
Well, like WSI has said in our new slogan and so forth, embrace digital, stay human. In an industry and in a life that is changing more and more to digital and technology every day. This is a way that you have reminded yourself to stay present and to stay human. And that's why we're here. So again, just I admire you tremendously on that topic. And Christ, I've learned a lot here talking to you, even though I thought I knew a bit about you. All right. Um, Now let's have a little bit of fun to wrap up here, just really quickly. And Allison doesn't know what I'm going to ask her. That's the best part.
Boy.
Um, so, so for people that don't know Allison overly well, she is the best dressed lady at any WSI function you're ever going to go to. You will know when Allison hits the room. She has, she'll bring a million colored or floral dresses. Um, Allison ain't showing up in a pair of jeans and an ACDC t-shirt. She is going to have some nice, elegant dress on. She is always going to have wedges or high heels on. That's just Allison when we see her. She will regret it when we do an activity or something because she's like, fuck. She's like, this is not for walking around. Like my feet are killing me. But even on camera, and you should be paying me for these compliments, but you always look fabulous. You do. You are always one of those person, like even this here, she comes on camera and she's like playing with her hair. No, she's not wearing a wig. She's playing with her hair and she's like, oh, if I would have known that video, I would have got dressed up or whatever. And you look amazing. You look like you honestly are going to the ball after this. So tell me, is this just you, and you've always just enjoyed, like, that's how you're
My
expressive, is
gosh.
in your fashion? Because again, you're just one of those people. Like, I swear, when I see you at conventions, I see you at regionals or whatever, I always have to compliment you because I'm sitting there like I got a piece of rope as a belt tied around pants that I had to stretch out over a chair, and I'm wearing some sloppy golf shirt. Here you come looking all dolled up, and you always look amazing. Like, you know, tell me why, how do you do it, and teach me some pointers. And that's how we're going to end
My
this, because
gosh.
no, but it is probably one of the best compliments I can give you. And I'm not trying to be stupid, sarcastic, funny, because that's you. Like, you come into a room and it's like the spotlight turns on you and it's like,
I
there
know.
she is.
I'm trying not to be a sarcastic responder, like, "Yeah, that stuff looked good 20 years ago." That would be my what's in my head. 'Cause I had to change. I can't. I used to be way more probably before your time. I felt like I was like that when I walked in WSI things, because it was like a lot of I don't even stereotypical who we first attracted before. It was a lot of women and people coming from sales and marketing and other aspects. It was mostly people coming from, like, programming and stuff, so I probably did. I stuck out because there was really not hardly any women, It just I didn't have to do it. But yeah, I mean, I like I like fashion, I like clothes, I
I,
mean
I would love to see the guy when he's putting your luggage like on the bus to come from
no, that's
convention
not
back
true.
to the
I'm not
airport. He's
extreme
like,
in
he's
that
like his
way.
low back gives out. He's like, Jesus
Oh
Christ,
my
what's in his back?
gosh.
You've got a whole other suitcase for all your shoes.
That's not true. So you think that now if you saw where I live now, because I moved, whenever, less than 2 years. I mean, yeah, okay. My closet could be a tour.
I
I'm
was going
not
to say,
gonna
you have the
lie.
Carrie Bradshaw closet, don't you?
It could be somebody's room, perhaps, but a small room. But it's quite a lovely closet. But no, I just like wearing nice clothes. I don't shop at all expensive places, just so you know. I just like different because
I
I feel
didn't
like it
imply.
fits
I'm
me.
just saying you are always put together. You
Thank
always have a
you.
theme to you. And that's one of the things that when you choose to retire and exit WSI, which I hope is never, but then the reality is Father Time keeps going. Is That's one of the things I always remember is, when I
Oh,
was younger and I didn't know you, when we were speed dating, when he got like 30 seconds, hi, I'm Allison, hi, I'm Mike, and you're like, who the hell are you? Um, you stand out, and I mean that with the utmost respect and compliment because of how you put yourself out there. Not only are you approachable, but you have energy to you, and you can see that when we get together, when you're with the people you love and you care about and you trust and you're open with. But You have a vibe to you. And that was one of the things I wrote down where I'm just like, I got to ask her about her fashion. And because
Yeah, and then
like,
of all days, I'm in, like, a collar with no real shirt. You're probably like,
yeah,
"What's
and where
going
you're
on
wearing like a
here?"
nice blouse or whatever, you got your hair done up, you look great. And I'm sitting here in my WSI shirt's got a hole in the middle of it. You like look like a jackass.
I'm going to a function in a little while, so
Exactly. That's my point. I just said you
yeah.
were getting ready to go to the ball and you're going to a function. So there's
I'm
always a
not.
theme to Allison's
It's not.
madness.
It's a small gathering.
Small gathering. And then she'll be like, "Oh, look at the gala here. We just fundraised $1 million and it was like a 400-person event. It was great." So please.
Well, I was at a toga event this past weekend. That was really fun.
Well, that's another theme is anybody in California. I know Andreas in Georgia, Cynthia and Ryan, and you as the three kind of mainstays that I know WSI wise in California. You guys are all happy. You all guys beat to a different drum. I don't think anything bothers you. It must be that California sun and knowing that the ocean is outside and everything else because us here in Toronto, we're just miserable, but it's
But
because the
let's
weather's miserable.
remember, know my roots. I walked to school every day in the winter, and that wind in Chicago burned my eyes so bad it made tears. And when I walked in my school, I would have to chisel the ice off of my eyelashes when I walked in. So I haven't forgotten where I came from.
No, but were you wearing high heels when you were trudging through to work? Do you see?
Not when I was a
Because
kid.
that's
No
another thing that
way.
just kills me. In the last convention we were at together, and I got to spend some great time with you. I know you know this, but I got a photo of me and you that we took. I think it was at the gala night, just me and you sitting next to each other at dinner. Because I wanted a photo of you, and I put it on my Instagram. And it is one of my favorite photos because I don't have a lot of photos
Aw,
of me and you, but I got a really nice one-on-one one with you.
well, that makes me
Um,
happy.
but but what was funny about that convention, because again, in all the events and the work sessions, again, Allison, we're down in Mexico. It's nice weather. She's got these nice sundresses, but she's wearing heels. And Allison don't wear like little like 1 inch like lift heels. She's got nice like size heels on. But like then they're like, okay, we're gonna run around the resort and do this, this and that, and then we're gonna do this, and we gotta go upstairs and downstairs. And Allison's like, fuck this. So my rule for you this year when I see you at convention in June is you bring a pair of sneakers.
I'm going to because you know what? Getting older, all those freaking shoes, you pay a price for those things. I cannot wear stilettos anymore. I gotta
Oh
wear
God.
different shoes, but that's
Well,
so funny, but I do remember running around. I was in so much pain.
you so much people were like, "Do we want to carry you?" We're like, "Yeah, I'm fine," or whatever. And you're just like, "I've had enough of this. Where's the bar?"
Oh my god, that was hilarious.
You and
Hey,
Mark are
let me say,
just like, "That's enough of this. Where's the
well,
bar? Let's go get a
I
bar of
wanted to
wine."
win, but you know what else I appreciate, Mike? I appreciate feeling like it's probably not a good time to say this, but I am a unofficial Canadian because I feel so welcome by your group when we all get together, and I love sitting with you guys. I feel like very welcome in your group, and I very much admire what you guys have up there, the way you collaborate and your friendships and how often you guys meet up. It's just so you guys are so warming. It's really made this part of my time with WSI so much better to have feel like I'm a little extension of that group.
And you are. And that, if you said to me, Mike, out of everything out of your 17 years with WSI, what's your takeaway other than, growing up the ladder and, having stability in my job and everything else? I mean, this truly, it's that group. Though
Yeah, I
that
bet. I
small
see
little
it.
group that I have been very blessed to be welcomed into with Peter and Chris and Lori and Mark, Jason Gervais, and now me and Denise are in there as well. Our little circle there, that's the greatest gift of my entire career at
Yeah.
WSI. Those are people that when we get together, I'm talking serious hugs, like, family, in my opinion. And I just can't wait to see them and then to have that support at work and so forth. And that's why I rave about convention. I can't wait to get there and see my crew. And then
Yeah, I
there's
bet.
the
I
other
feel the same
extension of
way.
people that you haven't seen and so forth. So, You better believe, and I was so pleased that you came to regionals this year. I know that's not something common for you to come up here, but you liked what we had on the material, and obviously there's
Well, yeah, and I
the
just wanted to see you guys.
and we had a good time with it. And you
Yeah.
know, 2 days goes by too fast, but before you know it, we're going to be in convention in June, and we're going to get to spend some great time together. And that's when I really get to sit down and chat with you and give you a hug and everything else. So
I mean, it's a hard one. I have my son is getting married right after that, and so are 3 of my nieces and nephews. My schedule, even personally, is freaking cuckoo crazy, but I don't wanna miss convention,
you better
you
not. You
know?
better make it happen, Allison Lindemann, because you're not there. I'm going to be FaceTiming you and screaming
I
at
I
you
ha
on the phone.
I'm all booked and ready to go.
Alrighty. So we're going to wrap up here. So what I want to do, like I do with any of the guests, is just where can people find you? You know, obviously your WSI business website. What is your LinkedIn? Just make sure you can, if people want to connect with you or engage you outside of Work Vivo or through our WSI channels.
I mean, yeah, my LinkedIn, it's just my name, but I mean, if someone to be honest, old school person, if someone really wants to reach me, they should text me. Like that's the best way to get emails bullshit. I get hundreds of them in a day and I only do the ones that I can do till it's midnight and my head hits my desk. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
You
that's
need to
and I
you,
know
you
I
need
think
to
our
build an
numbers
AI worker to do your emails for you.
I just gave up on it. And, my clients know how to reach I do my emails, but not as you know, not perfectly. And so if someone really does want to talk to me, which I do talk to people in the network, so do you. I mean, it's really got to be the phone or texting me because that's what gets my most attention in the one-on-ones. But I mean, I
What's
guess
and
I'm a
what and
little bit
where can people find you on what your WSI website? What is the domain?
WSI E-Biz. My same business
EBIZ.
name. I'm building a new website. Wait till you see that one. I'm getting really excited about it, but, um,
Nice.
you know
Excellent.
how it is, we do our own things last, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
we do them beyond last because there's never any
Yeah,
time to work on them, even though it's the most important thing we should be working on. But
I
gotta
know,
gotta work for those
100%, Mike.
clients that pay the bills, right?
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, I have had a blast.
Me too, Mike, thank you. I feel honored that you asked me.
Oh, please. You better believe I was going to send you an invite. And I'm thrilled knowing that there's a time zone difference between us and everything else. We were able to make this work. And most importantly, I learned a lot about you today. Again, that's the true gift of this podcast so far in season 2 with moving to a guest focused approach is, you sit there and say, oh, I'm going to have conversations with my friends. But the amount of stuff I have learned about Jack and Eric, um, Heidi, Cynthia, and others that are coming in more releases is just mind blowing. And it makes me feel closer to you guys. It makes me feel like I understand you more than just WSI people, and just goes to show that there is some just great people in the WSI network that. Like we've been saying recently, get to convention, get to regional meetings, get to these functions where there's more than just tiles on the screen, because sit down with people and have conversations. There's a lot of great people that are very smart with digital marketing or AI, but the people behind it is really, there are
Yeah.
friendships you're going to make no matter age or where you're at in life that are the reason why we do this. And again, I can't wait to see you at convention.
I can't wait to
Um,
see
keep,
you too.
keep doing what you're doing, lady. And so this is the Angry Ops Guy. Angry Ops Guy can be found Angry Ops Guy _WSI. We are on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We're dropping episodes every 2 weeks, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with our next guest. So, Allison, you go enjoy the California sun, and you look
Happy
fabulous.
Easter, Mike.
Happy Easter, dear.
Sorry, Mike, your email went to junk.